truly taking time, something for myself, going on a walk, working out, whatever it might be. So I think it's important to focus on a balance between your work and family life, but also making time for yourself so you don't get burnt out by work or just life in general.
Welcome, everyone, to the Closing Table Podcast, real accounts from real estate professionals from across the country, brought to you by WindowStill. I'm your host, Kat Schooler, and today I am so happy to be sitting down with Jayne Bialecki of Keller Williams Citywide in Northwest Ohio, real estate agent out that way. Jayne, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. Why don't you get us started with how you got started in real estate?
So I got licensed in 2013. I also graduated from college in 2013. So about halfway through college, I had made the decision to get my license, and I tried to not finish college, but my mom wouldn't let me. And so I got my license. Had worked in an office locally here while I was taking my classes. I knew I wanted a profession where you're in that whole, like, what am I going to do with my life? So I knew I wanted a profession where I could help people, but I also am money driven. And so I had contemplated a nonprofit. I did some work with Big Brothers, Big Sisters in college. And I knew I wanted to do something. I loved the nonprofit sector, but obviously there's not a lot of money there. So, and I knew the healthcare field was not going to be it for me either. So, I had kind of done some exploring, landed on real estate, the classic, like, oh, I like houses. That sounds fun. It's never what you think it's going to be, but I still love my job. So I've just come to love it in a different way. So got licensed in 2013 and, started as a buyer's agent, have worked on a couple teams. And in 2016, when I got married, I did the solo agent thing and have been doing that since. So
That's awesome. And I'm curious, what did you end up going to college for?
I have my bachelor's in communication with a minor in marketing.
Oh,
So
awesome. So it just loops right
relatable.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's so cool. And so you said it wasn't kind of what you thought it would be. Can you give us a little more detail on that?
Sure. Just like people watch House Hunters and they're like, oh,
Mhm.
real estate sounds fun. Like you just go look at houses all day. All day. I like houses. I like to look at houses. I like to look at realtor.com, Zillow, whatever. And from that aspect, it's not it's not just I get to go look at pretty houses all day. So not what I expected, of course, initially from that side of things. But um, honestly, I find such a joy in helping people with obviously one of their biggest purchases in their lives that they're going to make. And that just brings so much joy to me because everything in your life revolves around your home, how you spend time with your family, how you spend time with your friends, how you feel when you come home, or a lot of people working from home anymore, and finding that space that kind of just makes sense for you logistically with your family or for yourself. And I find so much joy helping people with that process. So
That's awesome. I mean, well, they say you got to love what you do, and it's clear
yeah,
that you do. And I'm sure that only helps you serve your clients even better.
yeah.
Um, you had a couple interesting things you talked about on your social media that I would love to, ask you about. You kind of talked about house hacking. Can
Yes.
we talk about that? Like, what is that? Like, explain it to people. Like, what is that option?
So house hacking would be if you purchased like a duplex where you can rent out the one side and live in the other. Um, where I live, we don't have a ton of duplex options. I mean, there's plenty around, but not as frequently, of course, as single family homes coming up for sale. So but absolutely great option to be able to rent out one side and essentially use that to pay for your mortgage and live. I don't want to say for free, but sometimes for free, depending on price ranges, of course. But so it's a great option. I mean, whether really you have a family um, or you're just by yourself. I mean, obviously, depending on size, if everything still logistically makes sense for you, it's an absolutely wonderful option. So,
Yeah, I have friends who are they're always been pretty scrappy with their money, and I like really respect their ingenuity. And they have always rented out a room in their home to
yep.
like a friend, so it's not a
Yeah.
stranger. So when I
Yeah.
saw your house hacking thing, I thought of them and I was like, that's what they're doing. It's so smart.
Yeah. My husband and I actually, when we got married, actually, before we got married, we weren't even engaged yet. We purchased a small home in a local town here. And, um, I would stay there a few nights a week. And um, two of our friends rented the rooms from us. And honestly, it made I mean, we still paid the mortgage between the two of us and what the full amount was. And then plus what they were paying, we were able to put a good chunk towards our mortgage every month and paying extra on the principal to help get our balance down, which then fast forward 6 years later when we were selling it, helped us a lot. And we were still, I mean, our mortgage was still so inexpensive at the time compared to things now. So whether it be a duplex or you're, like you said, renting a room out to somebody, absolutely wonderful option. I've kind of led some other friends in that direction over the years as well.
That's awesome. And like a great way to have, income towards your
Yeah.
housing. And I think that's like people are, I think people are trying to be more creative these days in
Yeah.
that regard.
Absolutely. Well, and it's so expensive to rent. Why wouldn't you? If you can find somebody that makes sense for, it's a win-win for both people to have that as an option. So,
There was another post you had posted, and this one was really eye opening to me because I like to listen, I like to scroll through Zillow as much as the
yeah,
next person.
yeah,
But I've never hit that request a tour button, mostly
hmm
because I'm like, I'm just window shopping at this point.
yeah.
But you had posted that if you hit that, you're suddenly on a whole bunch of email lists or
You are.
something
You
like
will
that.
probably get a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages. Agents obviously pay for Zillow leads, and obviously, I mean, a lot of the stats say the first one that responds, that higher your chances are, right? I think that's with anything sales wise, I'm sure. And but I have had clients do that in the past if I've forgotten to maybe warn them about that, or maybe I didn't educate them properly from the start. Obviously, I try to do my best, but if we get lost in conversation and I miss that one, I've had people do it before and they're like, "Hey, I'm seeing this house on whatever with this person." And I'm like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? And they're like, well, they called me when I requested a showing. And so you kind of have to go through that education. It's important to go through that education up front with them. But yes, you will get um, a number of, it actually gets, from my understanding, don't quote me on this, I don't pay for Zillow leads or anything, but from my understanding, it gets shot out to multiple people. So you won't just be contacted by one person. And as agents, we are taught at the same time that you have to reach out to somebody like 7 times before they respond to you. So they may not stop at the first
Mm.
request is my point. So yeah, you have to kind of be careful. And I always tell people if you're already working with an agent, like go to them first. I mean, whether it's me or not, I would tell anybody that. My friends that live out of town, whoever I'm talking to, like go to your agent. They're going to be the one. And I've had people do this when I've been out of town before and they're like, I didn't want to bother you while you were on your trip. And I'm like, bother me away. Like, I will find somebody to take you through the house. Don't just reach out to a stranger. Like, I want to make sure you're taken care of. So it's always important, just like anything else, to educate them from the beginning.
And that's a good point. I've heard that. I think it's like a sales marketing thing that you have to have like 7 touch points.
Yeah.
And I know we all live in a world where we could probably unsubscribe from some more things. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
It's good to know, to have that information out there that if you hit that request a tour button, like suddenly you're going to be flooded with some information that
Yes.
maybe you weren't expecting.
Oh, absolutely.
You also do some cool events because, okay, you mentioned to me, now this is really cool,
Yeah.
that you are a completely referral based agent. Can we talk
Yes.
about how you built that?
Sure. It's been a long time coming, of course. I've been licensed for 10 years. Um, I, it's obviously still a job, but it's also so enjoyable to me. And I think part of the reason that it is enjoyable to me is because I'm working with friends and family, and it's people that I'm already choosing to surround myself with in my life. And so when I have to go show my friends a house on Saturday in the afternoon, and obviously I'm taking time away from my family to do that, or in the evening, or whenever it is, it doesn't feel like work as much because I'm getting to go spend time with people that I already have a relationship with and care about. So that has made it really enjoyable, but kind of a long time coming building a business, especially that is just sphere based and not paying for online leads. Um, Honestly, I've just really tried to be the resource for my sphere, educating them, being there if they have questions on anything, having patience with them at the same time. Of they might be asking questions now, but they might not be ready for a year or two, or um, whatever it might be. So, kind of just continuing to be that resource for them. But at the same time, over the last few years, I really have enjoyed and expanded more into the trying to show my sphere appreciation. Um, Obviously, I want them to think of me when they think of real estate, but I also have such a heart, obviously, the whole nonprofit side of things that I had considered. I just love to give back to those that have given so much to me, whether it be their business personally or referrals from them. And so I've done I kind of stopped after COVID, but we used to do like a Mud Hens client appreciation, which is a local baseball team here. I just in December last year did photos with Santa for my clients. So they got to come. I hired a Santa and a professional photographer, and they got to do pictures with Santa. We had cookies and hot cocoa and all kinds of stuff. So that was really fun. For Easter this year, I did something new. In the past, I've dropped off, like for Halloween and Easter, I've dropped off Halloween baskets with some goodies in them to clients of mine. And for Easter, I've done Easter baskets with like an egg dyeing kit, a number of different things. And this year I decided to change it up a little bit, and I did an egg your yard event. So I sent it out to my sphere, but also to the community, and I had 25 yards that I got to egg the night before Easter, which was really fun. I took my stepmom, my sister, and my mother in law with me, and we drove around for like 3 hours and got to like egg people's yards with the plastic Easter eggs filled with candy and other little trinkets for people. So it was it that kind of stuff just brings me so much joy to be able to kind of give back to everybody. So yeah.
That's really neat. And I had seen your Egg Your Yard event, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so fun and so unique. Like, I've never seen anybody do anything like that before. You hear the people bringing baskets at like holidays and things like that, but I loved how
Yeah.
unique that was.
Yeah. I had gotten an idea from another agent, and that is not in my area. And I was just like, wow, I mean, it's creative. It's something that parents still need to do, right? My Easter baskets were fun,
Hmm.
but it wasn't something that everybody, um, it wasn't something, it wasn't taking something off of a parent's plate at the same time. I was probably just putting more stuff into their home. So, but to kind of circle back on the like, how have I built strictly, for the most part, sphere based business? Really just continuing to be that person for people that shows up. I also love to, if my clients are whether there was a death or if my clients have had a baby and expanded their families, love, love, love to drop a meal off to people. Just a number of different things, but also obviously on the real estate side of things, I try to have my social media as much as possible, focus on educating them about the market, about where we stand, helpful tips and tricks, that kind of stuff. So really just staying in front of people is the most important.
I think that's awesome. I love the idea of like taking something off their plate, right?
Yeah.
Because you could, just like you said, just give them more stuff
Stuff.
to put in their house.
Yeah.
But the meal, the Easter eggs, it's so personal. It takes something off the parents' plate or
Yeah.
the family, whomever. And I think that's what helps make it really memorable for them.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't do it for the business. Like that's not, I mean, obviously you want to stay top of mind, but like I genuinely love doing this kind of stuff. So it kind of is fun to like mesh the two of those together, but then have that be my job at the same time. So
Hmm. I think that's probably the only way it's successful. I
yeah.
think if you're somebody who's doing it just to do
Yeah.
it, you're
Absolutely.
not going to be doing it for very long.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You also have done, like, you do the March Madness every year.
Yes.
That seems cool.
Yes. I love to do that. Um, this year I had, I think like 32 people in my bracket. Um, again, just another fun little like giveaway. Um, keep things entertaining. But another little thing I like to provide to or offer that I don't offer to the community, I just offer it on my personal page or on my business page. So really, only the people that follow me would see that. Um, but yeah, love to do that. I love to keep things just fun and entertaining at the same time.
Well, and the cool thing is like, okay, I'm not a March Madness
Yeah.
person, so, people don't come for me. But people are going to do with March Madness, they're going to do their bracket anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, they might as well do it with you.
Yep. Yep. No cost to them. Just join in on the fun. And then it's kind of fun because I get to have extra conversations with people like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're leading. Oh my gosh, you picked horrible teams. What did you do? What were you thinking? Um, so it's kind of fun. It creates some extra conversation with people too. So
Wow, we're really getting to the good part, and I can't wait for you to hear what comes next. But first, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to make sure you are following and subscribed to the Closing Table podcast wherever it is you get your podcasts. Also, please leave us a comment or review. It is the best no cost thing you can do for the podcast, and it helps us grow and find more awesome listeners like you. Now, back to the episode. That's awesome. We talked about how you got started, and how it's maybe a little different than you expected it to be, but we love it. That's great. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in the past decade as an agent?
um I feel like it should be a no-brainer, although I don't feel like it is. To just be honest with people. Um, it's not my, and I mean that in some ways and not the other. Every house is, I'm not the one looking at the house. I'm not the one that has to live here, but kind of also asking those questions of people of like, can you picture yourself living here? Where do you imagine yourself doing this? Can you imagine you guys like to have people over? Can you imagine doing that here? Is there the space there? So being honest, through that side of things when you're actually viewing the home, but also like if you mess up on something, owning up to it, and just being truthful with everything. Unfortunately, I don't feel like we see that. Um, we see some people not being as honest as they probably should be with their clients in our industry. I think that's in every industry, right? But we do tend to see that. And I've just kind of learned also, like, don't make up an answer. I mean, it goes along with being truthful, but like, if you don't know the answer to a question that your client's asking, I mean, every transaction is different. Every buyer's different. Every seller's different. Um, there might be something after 10 years that comes up that I don't know there are continuously situations I've never run into that honestly I don't know the right way to handle this. But let me find out for you. Not just making up an answer to give them an answer and act like I know what I'm doing. That's doing a disservice to both you and me. So, and it's not going to make me look good in the long run if they find out. So, honestly, I feel like not that it was a lesson that I needed to learn, but biggest thing would just be to be truthful with your people because they're also going to grow that appreciation for you and respect, and that's what's going to get you repeat business and or referrals. They're going to be more likely to trust their friends and family with you as well. So,
I think that's great advice.
yeah.
Um, Along those lines, is there anything that's like surprised you?
Um, how hard it is to build a business, probably. How there are some people that have great success in their first couple years. Um, I was 21 when I got licensed. Like, I don't sometimes I look back and think those first couple houses I sold, like, how did those people even trust me? I still lived at home. Like, I didn't even own a home myself. Why are they trusting me to help them purchase a home? Um, and obviously all of that kind of comes with experience, right? But I feel like the biggest thing that surprised me was I think real estate is oftentimes perceived as oh, I can make some quick money here. There's not quick money to be made here. Can you make good money? Yes. Quick money, some people have great quick success. But if honestly you want to build a business that's going to last, just like anything, it's likely going to take time. And I kind of wish I would have realized that from the start. But at the same time, I started so young that I didn't own like I said, I didn't own a home yet. So I didn't have a mortgage. I wasn't married yet. It was really just me that I had to kind of take care of. And that honestly allowed me, I think, to take that time to build a strong, build a strong business over the years because it wasn't hey, you've got a year or two to make this work. And if you're not making money, you got to go because you got to provide for your family. Most people don't get their license at 21 when they don't have
Mhm.
responsibilities yet. Um, so it was also, I think, helpful in building my business to be licensed so young because I hit that first wave of my, friends buying their first home. So um, I think it's not a recent surprise, but at one point in my business, it was like, okay, this is going to take some time to build it to really be what you want it to be. I had some, I don't want to call it a side job, but I worked in an administrative position for a local brokerage for years just to have the consistent income um, while I was continuing to build my business. So you kind of have to do whatever you need to do um, to survive while you're building your business. So um, it was eye opening. But also, I would suggest to anybody that is considering getting some kind of part time position somewhere, try to make it within the real estate industry still. So you're still like surrounded by it, if that makes sense. Not do
Oh,
not doing
yeah.
something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I had a friend of mine explain kind of life as like a three-lane highway, maybe, with like work and personal and like some other like goals that I have. And I was like, it's all moving in the same direction. And I feel like that's kind of what you're getting at is like you want your highway all moving in the same direction instead of like branching
Yeah,
out.
absolutely.
Um,
There's a lot of people that have completely different, I don't even want to call them side gigs, but other part-time positions. And not I mean, some people make it work for them, right? You're still, if it's a position where you're getting out and being in front of people and being able to create those conversations, that's great too. But if you can keep it within the industry and keep learning at the same time, what a bonus it is to have that um, additional, solid income since we're commission based um, versus going and doing something completely different that might pull you in another direction that you don't want to go in.
I think what's what I love about that is like a lot of people, and I don't think I realized until I started talking to agents. I think a lot of people don't realize that somewhere along the way, a lot of times agents have to support themselves with supplemental income
Hmm.
because the commission varies.
Yeah.
And And I think it's just great to highlight that once again.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see a lot of people. I would love to get my husband and I would love to get to this point, but not quite there yet. But you see a lot of agents just because we're in the industry, investing in real estate, having rental properties, having Airbnb properties. And I would love to get to that point. I can't speak on it as far as knowledge about it goes, personally, but just to kind of have that additional stream of income, I think it's important to have um, not a backup plan, but you never know what the world's gonna you never know what the world's gonna do. So
Certainly. And you mentioned, you're a mom, you have a family. How do you keep it all balanced?
it's tricky. It's tricky. My children go to daycare, so I have a 3 and a 1 year old, a 3 year old boy and a 1 year old girl, and they do go to daycare, which is very helpful. I am not cut out to be a stay at home mom. I love them dearly, but that life is just not for me. And so they do go to daycare, but honestly, it makes it even more crucial that when they are at school, that I'm focused on what needs to get done throughout the day, so that as much as I can in the evening, be present with them, especially before bedtime, but even also after bedtime and after they're down and spending time with my husband. That's such a balance. Both my husband and I. My husband is also self-employed, so it has been, and we're not perfect at this, but um a lot of times we have where the kids go to bed and we both whip our computers out and are getting things done still, and we have to be very intentional, and have learned to have to be very intentional about the time that we have together, and like, hey, when the kids go down, we're not working tonight, or we're putting our phones down, we're not going to answer work calls. We've both learned that people will bother you no matter, I don't want to say bother you. People will reach out any time of the day, but it's also the expectations that you're setting with them of like, hey, in the evening, I'm not ignoring you. Um, I'm spending time with my family right now. I will get back to you first thing in the morning. Obviously, some things are time sensitive, especially in this market with the deadlines that we have for offers. Sometimes there's things that we don't have control over. So it's important in the time that you do have and have the option to be present, with your family, to make the most of that time, because there's also times where I have a showing at 5 o'clock and the deadline is at 8 o'clock to submit an offer. Of course, my client loves it and wants to write an offer. Wonderful. That's great. I will make sure it happens. But I also come home and it's dinner time, it's bedtime, all the things. And I'm like, my husband, thankfully, is very understanding of things. And if I have um, times where I need to get something done, he's wonderful at just kind of running the ship, as far as the kids go. But there might be a time where I come home and I'm like, hey, I'm going right to my office. I have an offer to write up. I will be out in an hour, hour and a half, and I will help you with whatever I can at that time. So, the times that you do have, it's important to not kind of let those ones go and just make the most of your time. So it's a balance no matter what.
Yeah, yeah, and I think everybody's looking for it and everybody's always working on it. Do you ever, like, because it can be kind of unpredictable, do you ever just like, this is a hard, like this night is just like a hard stop?
Yeah. I think you have to have that for your own mental state of like, no, I don't care what I get done today. Like, I have to, just for myself, I have to take this time. Or even, the days where I know, hey, I have showings in the evenings. I have this and this and this, or I have a closing and then I have to go to a showing and then I have to do a walkthrough and I have a full evening. It's kind of even outside of balancing work and family life, you have to give yourself the time that you need. So it's important, if I do have a night where I'm going to be gone, that I'm not starting work maybe at 8 a.m. and getting this and this and this done. Like, I'm going to take some time for myself either in the morning or in the middle of the day before I kind of have my second half of my day, and getting done kind of what I need to get done for myself too, whether that be the fun things. I'm being sarcastic, like grocery shopping and all the things that just run my family, laundry, picking up the house, groceries, um, or truly taking time something for myself, going on a walk, working out, whatever it might be. So I think it's important to focus on a balance between your work and family life, but also making time for yourself so you don't get burnt out by work or just life in general. So yeah.
I think that's great. And I'm so glad that you do that. And I think, like, maybe that's, when people are like, "Oh, I got into real estate because I thought I could make my own schedule." And then their schedule kind of ends up being
Yeah,
like more maybe like evenings and weekends. And it's like, well, yes, like maybe it's sometimes dictated by
yeah,
your clients, but then maybe the next day you can take the whole morning off. I think it's
absolutely.
maybe just about like reframing it.
Absolutely. We used to have a little bit more flexibility because we could pile on multiple houses to view at a time versus kind of the, hey, it hit the market. Hey, we got to get there in the first day or two. We have a little bit less control than we used to. But at the same time, it's also not letting your like protecting your own time. And hey, if we can get there before my kids get out of daycare, that's great. But I also understand you might be limited with your work schedule. Like let's find a balance between the both of us that kind of makes sense. And honestly, I've found people are so um I've gotten the comment a lot recently, and I'm so grateful for my wonderful clients of like, well, I don't want to take your Saturday. And I'm like, I totally understand, but let's go see the house. Like, let's go. That's not a problem. I will tell if I have something going on and I can't make it work. I don't care. I will get somebody else to come take you through it. Like, we will figure it out no matter what, because I'm not letting you miss out on a house because of my schedule. So I've recently brought in a showing agent to, his name's Brendan, to help me kind of take some of that weight off, but also kind of a 2-for-1. Like you get two of our schedules to find that opportunity for you to get into the home at a time that works for all of us. Because I don't want my schedule to allow you to not even look at a house to even have the chance to write an offer on it. That's not fair. But I've also learned that I didn't want to give up some of my family time either. So, kind of another part of finding that balance between everything.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
What made you like realize that you're like, okay, I need to bring someone else on?
Um, so both when my son was born, it was in 20 he was born in January of 21, and 2020 and 2021 were probably the busiest just work years in general, which is quite the time to have a child during. So um just it was so busy, and will never forget when he was born that had I want to say it was like a week or two in a row where I missed bedtime every single night. And that killed me. And I started to protect my time a little bit more. I mean, I'm talking he was like 3 months old, 4 months old. And that just like he was already in daycare even at that point. So there would be times where I saw him for 20, 30 minutes in the morning. And I'm like, that would just break my heart to not be able to see him, right? Things got a little bit better. I started to protect my time a little bit more. And then when I had my daughter last year, um, she was born in March, and I started to kind of see the same pattern coming back again in myself of putting my clients, I mean, my clients are obviously very important to me, but also my family's number one. And I had, another week or two where I was missing bedtime every night, and then with both my kids, but now I've got a 3-year-old that's asking her, he was 2 at the time, Mom, why aren't you like, where are you? Why aren't you home? Why are you working so much? And getting those questions. And you're like, well, that's not good that he's recognizing all of this. So last summer, I kind of made that decision that obviously my clients are important, but my family is number one. But I'm also not going to give up the opportunity for my clients to see something just because I've decided what's number one for me. So that kind of led me to, I didn't really feel like I was ready for a buyer's agent at the time. And, um, but knew I needed some kind of assistance. And our arrangement has worked out wonderfully so far. I'm hoping to transition him into a buyer's agent, hopefully this year sometime. But it's worked out as a great transition for us right now. So
I'd like to take just a moment and tell you about our sponsor. WindowStill provides premium real estate media for agents, builders, and property management companies nationwide. To learn more, visit windowstill.com. WindowStill, helping America find their next chapter. Now, back to the episode. Oh, I'm so glad.
yeah.
Speaking of, kind of into the next year, what are some of the goals you have, for the next 12 months?
A lot of my main focus in the last year and then continuing to move forward is to be um, just nailing down the systems of my business. And truly, I've tried to in the last year or two make it more of a put more of a focus of my time on treating my business as a business and making it so that thing using the leverage, using as much leverage as I can. I have brought in an admin to help with that side of things, but also um, to just like perfect the systems that make everything run smoother, not only for me and my own sanity, but also for my clients. Like I want to be able to provide them kind of that next level of service. I'd love to be able to, obviously, who doesn't want to grow their business? Of course, that's a goal of mine to sell. Everybody's going to say to sell more houses, to make more money, to do this. I want to perfect, and I've done a lot in the last year to work on this, but I want to perfect the service that I'm giving people because that's also what's going to bring them back. So and people deserve that. Like this is the biggest purchase of your life. Like you deserve to work with somebody that knows what they're doing, is keeping you informed throughout the process, is giving you the information before you can even ask what's coming next. Um, so all the kind of different systems that I've put into place, I want to continue to perfect those. I think for so long, and this is probably in any industry or business that you're building, um, I think people put off doing certain things so long because they think it's not perfect. And I've been victim to that as well. There's so many things over the years I never implemented because I'm like, oh, I don't have time to make that perfect right now. But last year I kind of learned it doesn't matter. Just put it into play and perfect it as change things as you go. Um, it's never it's always going to evolve and evolve into something different. You might get it perfect and then something else changes and you're like, oh, well, I should include this. So, really, my goal is to, yes, grow my business, of course, but to kind of perfect and elevate that level of service that I can offer to my clients.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. We love a growth mindset
Yeah. Oh,
over here.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think it's like, it makes me think of that phrase, like, done is better than perfect. Like,
Absolutely.
sometimes you just gotta
Absolutely.
get it done.
Absolutely. I've had to learn that. I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I've had to really take that to heart the last year. So,
I feel that. I'm a recovering
yeah.
perfectionist also.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to use that one.
Yeah,
I love
yeah. What are some things you're looking forward to the rest of this year? It doesn't have to be professional.
it. Honestly, we have a lot of travel coming up for different things, weddings, my sister-in-law's graduation, a number of things. And so excited for some travel, but also like my kids are at such moldable ages to continue watching them grow and like watching their interactions with everybody is so much fun and building relationships as well. So really just family time and building our businesses and our travel.
That's so wonderful. I'm so excited for
Thank
you.
you.
Well, Jayne, would you like to let everyone know how they can find you, how they can work with you?
Sure. Easiest is probably on Instagram, both on Instagram and Facebook. My profile on Instagram is Jayne Bialecki Realtor. Um, Same on Facebook. It should be Jane. I think it's Jayne Bialecki Keller Williams. I think is the name. That's probably something I should know, isn't it? If you go to my Instagram, within my bio, there is a link. And as far as buyers or sellers go, I've got a buyer seller questionnaire in there, some miscellaneous free resources, schedule an appointment with me, all kinds of things. So that would be the best place.
Awesome. And we'll link it in the show notes so everyone
Perfect.
can find you. Well, thank you so much,
Yes.
Jayne. And thank you all for watching. This has been the Closing Table Podcast brought to you by WindowStill. I'm Kat Schooler. If you are enjoying this podcast, please make sure you are following us on Apple or Spotify. And if you are part of our YouTube audience, make sure you are hitting that like and subscribe. It helps us find more amazing listeners like you. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you.